need a flat bench and a pair of dumbbells for this next program. Modified burpee for this one. So you can see I'm using the bench, so it's going to make the push-up a little bit easier. This is a great version of doing burpees for beginners in particular, and it's a great warm-up exercise as well. So getting into that push-up and then jumping back, and you can see I'm not jumping up at the end either, so I'm just trying to keep the joint impact off my knees when I do this exercise. Your turn to try it. Using the tip of the bench for some triceps dips for this exercise. Now you can see I'm doing it with straight legs so that I can't cheat, and you've just got to make sure that your butt stays really close to your hand. We don't want to cause any excess pressure in the rotator cuffs. Your turn to try this one. Working some push-ups for this exercise, and we're getting some assistance from the bench just to create a little bit of elevation, and this will make the push-up fairly easy. Just make sure you're cautious enough not to tip the bench over. Your turn to try this one. Single arm row, nicely supported by the bench for this one. So very important, just release the dumbbell until your arm's nice and straight, and then when you pull it up, you want to pull towards your rib cage with your elbows tucked in. Keep your wrists nice and straight and keep your spine neutral as well. Both sides. Your turn.
Oh
seated double hammer curl for this exercise. So sitting on your bench, nice and upright, neutral spine, elbows tucked in. We're just going to start to work these biceps curls with a hammer hand position, or a neutral grip if you like. Now you want to make sure that your elbows are remaining stationary and they stay tucked in by your ribs throughout the whole exercise. Your turn to try this one. Corn cobs for this exercise. So this is a great upper body and core exercise. So you can see I'm starting with really wide arms, and then what I'm doing is I'm gliding across horizontal all the way to one side until I've got an extended arm, and then I'm working through and hitting the other side as well. All the meanwhile, I've got to make sure that I'm keeping a neutral back. So I want that straight line from my shoulder all the way to my ankle, and just really watching so that there's no arching and there's no dipping of the hips. Your turn to try this one. Overhead triceps extension with a single dumbbell. So seated on your bench with a neutral spine, and you want to make sure your legs are wide enough apart to give you a nice sturdy base. Then we're going to go overhead and we're going to start to work these triceps extensions with your elbows tucked in by your ears and just lifting straight up. Your turn to try this one. do push-up for this exercise. So feet and hands at shoulder width, raised right up to start with, and then it's a dipping push-up. So you're going to dip all the way down and work your way back to the top again. Your turn to try this one. Skull crusher for this exercise. Now, there's a bunch of different ways of doing this, but I'll show you the way I like to do it. So I like to start off with parallel arms so that when you're dropping your dumbbells, it's missing your head and it's actually giving you the most range of movement. So I'm trying to get 90 degrees movement out of this. Make sure the elbows remain nice and stationary and your back is pinned right up against the bench when you do it. Your turn. Push up with a chest touch for this exercise. So you can see it's a relatively slow and controlled movement. So I'm getting that nice deep push up in. And then when I come back up, I'm going to use one of my hands to touch the opposite chest. And I'm just going to alternate between lefts and rights for this one. Your turn to try it. concentration curls. Now this is a great biceps isolation. So you can see I've got my elbow inside of my thigh and supported, and all I'm doing is just pumping out some biceps curls perpendicular to my leg. So I'm going to hit one side and then I'm going to hit the other side as well. Your turn. Shoulder press for this exercise. So you want to start with your hands and your feet at shoulder width, and you want to start in a pike position. So lift your bum right up, and you're doing a push-up which looks a lot like a shoulder press all the way to the floor and lifting straight back up. And you've got to make sure that your knees remain nice and straight throughout the exercise. Your turn to try it. seated shoulder press for this exercise, but this is a little bit different. So you can see that it starts with a neutral hand position with your elbows tucked in, and as you lift, it rotates and looks more like a traditional shoulder press for this one. Make sure your spine remains nice and neutral, keep your chest proud, and protect your back through this exercise. Your turn. Rookie push-up for this exercise. So rather than doing your push-up from your feet, we're just going to do it from our knees. Now, very important with this one, you've got to maintain a straight line from your shoulder to your knee. Where people go wrong with this one is they lift their bum and it takes away the core engagement. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. Because you're on your knees and it's a fairly easy push-up, let's try and make it nice and deep. Let's go down all the way and come straight back up. Your turn to try this one. Bent over lateral raise for this exercise. So we really want to emphasize your posterior deltoids as well as your traps and your rhomboids as well. Just looking forward on this one and trying to push up with soft straight arms throughout this exercise. Your turn. pullover from a supine position for this one. So you can see I've got an eyelet grip going as far as holding the dumbbells concerned. And then I'm keeping my arms relatively soft straight to really emphasize on the triceps. Now, if you bend your arms a little bit more, it's going to give you more emphasis on your chest. So there is a variation. Your turn to try it. Basic push-ups for this exercise. So you can see that I've got my feet together and my arms are at a comfortable width. So for me, I like to emphasize on the triceps, so I keep my elbows tucked in. If you prefer to do a chest push-up, then that's okay as well. Important thing is no arching and no dipping of the back, so you've got to keep a straight line from your ankle all the way to your shoulder. Your turn to try this one. Triceps kickback. So you want to make sure for this one you pull up a row first, so your elbow's nice and high, and then that's your starting position, and then from that point your elbow doesn't move anymore. So all it is an extension behind you. Make sure you're using the bench for support. Make sure there's a slight bend in your knees and your back's protected through this exercise as well. Your turn to try it.
Oh
Chest fly for this exercise. So we're going to lie down on the bench with our lower back pinned right up against the bench. Now you want to make sure you're getting good foot support from this before you get started. And then we're going to open wide. Now you want to make sure you don't exceed the T line when you bring the fly to the down position. And then you want to push up with soft straight arms and bring those dumbbells together right at the top. Your turn to try it. Supine hammer curls for this exercise. So we're going to start off with your arms by your side and we're going to bring them to a horizontal position while holding a neutral grip. And then you want to make sure your elbows don't move and we're just going to curl up. So you need to make sure you exercise a lot of control over this technique, but it's a really good, really tough biceps variation. Your turn to try this one. Well done for finishing your workout, guys. Please take a few minutes to stretch and cool your body down now. If you enjoyed this workout segment, please assist us by liking and sharing. Remember to subscribe for your daily workout fix.